You know, Jamie, yesterday was kind of a big deal, and I'm sure that you're sort of aware, but you know, this drug task force for the state, trying to pull everybody together and bring these resources together, that's pretty amazing in itself. It's a huge task. But I'm kind of curious how you got involved on that, because you know, here you are, you're a high school student in little Shelby County, and yesterday you got to speak to some pretty powerful people in this state.
I did. It was an honor to speak as the student representative. My dad is actually the director of the district attorneys for the state, and he and Barry Matson, who was in charge of the meeting yesterday, invited me to come speak.
When you really spoke, I thought, very passionately about how you feel as a young person, as a high school student. When you sort of knew that you had to get up and speak, was it hard for you to find those words? Talk to me a little bit about, I guess, your thought processes in putting together something like that. Because you don't want to necessarily misrepresent what's going on at your school, but you also want people to understand that this is an issue that is very serious.
Right, and I think our school doesn't have an outrageous number of cases with drug abuse, but it is a very real thing. And so I just kind of thought about, okay, what have I heard at the lunch table, and what have been my experiences. And actually, as I spoke yesterday, I have a friend who did struggle with drug abuse, and so I kind of drew off of that. And so I just kind of thought, you know, what is going on, but how can I say that in a way that shows that there is definitely a solution?
You know, a lot of young people don't want to stick their neck out. They don't want to be seen as, you know, like anti-establishment or whatever
Yes.
it is. It was a very mature thing for you to do. Were you kind of scared at all about any kind of backlash or misunderstanding by your just, you know, the students here?
I mean, there's an element of that, but I think that really there is a bigger deal in that I'm sick of seeing my classmates having to go through that struggle of the drug abuse and how it affects them. And so yes, I might be seen as the snitch or, you know, something like that, but I really think that it's important to talk about the problem and identify that there is a problem in order to come up with a solution that's going to help us all.
Now, one of the big things that they were really hitting on yesterday is that we're not just talking about illicit drugs. We're not talking about the heroin, the cocaine, the marijuana. Yes, that is an element. We're talking about a lot of prescription abuse, you know, that kind of thing. What do you hear that kids are talking about, and how does that affect you and your friends?
Right. The prescription drugs are very popular. Adderall is probably the #1 because so many kids are diagnosed with ADD, and because they can't focus or, you know, something to that extent. And so they get the medicine, and then they're able to share with their friends, and they take it because it helps them focus and that sort of thing. And while it can be seen as, you know, it's not that big of a deal, it's just an Adderall, but then if you're okay with taking that one, you know, it progresses. Another one that is popular in our school is Ambien, which is a sleeping medicine, and it causes crazy hallucinations and that sort of thing. And then there's always the Loratab. Somebody breaks an arm or gets their wisdom teeth out, and they continue to take it after the pain has gone away, and it causes devastation.
What do you think it really needs to be done on a high school level? Do you think that there needs to be more programs sort of talking about the impact of these drugs on students, or what would you like to see the state do?
Well, I always respond well to people who have actually been through the experience, and we've had a few programs within our school assemblies where people who've gone through the struggle of drug abuse and that sort of thing have come in and really told their story, and that gets a good response from the students. And you know, just programs, just letting students know this is a big deal.
You know, yesterday one of the people that got up right before you spoke was a young man that had everything in front of him, and he made some poor decisions about drugs.
Right.
And he bared his soul. What was going through your mind as you were hearing his story?
That was incredible. That I was shocked, and he was talking about how his parents had done everything right. He was a good kid, he was a popular kid, and then he just fell into that peer pressure, and he's got 15 years in jail. And so that, to me, was really powerful. Another thing that he said that was really powerful was that marijuana was the gateway drug for him. And I think a lot of students don't realize that. They don't, it's just, oh, I'm just gonna get high on the weekends, and it don't realize that. But when that high stops being enough, that's what leads to worse and worse things.
Do you think if more of your classmates, and not just your classmates, but high school students in general,
Right.
were able to hear stories from men like that it would make them think twice about doing what they're doing?
I definitely think so. I mean, it made a huge impact on me, and that typically that has been the most effective way of getting people to realize how serious these things are. We've had in the past different speakers come who had similar stories, and you can just tell when everybody leaves the gym that they're all just kind of thinking about it and really taking into consideration what those people have said and what they've gone through. And I think a lot of people say, hey, that could happen to me, and so it makes a really big effect.
Hey, you only have a few months left here at the school. What do you feel that you can do in the coming months to make an impact on your school, to help them understand what it is that you spoke of yesterday? And you got a lot of kids that are coming up behind you that you still have an opportunity to have some kind of influence on.
Right.
What can you do in the next couple of months?
Well, I think working with the drug task force will be a good thing, but I could maybe introduce different speakers who have gone through that. And one thing that I try to do is I really try to lead by example. I'm currently cheerleading varsity captain and valedictorian of my class, and so I know that I have a lot of eyes on me, and I try to be a good role model for the freshmen and the sophomores and even younger than that, because I feel like I am looked up to because I've worked hard for to get to where I am. And so I think it's important for me to continue to show that it's okay to not give in to that peer pressure. It's okay to not do drugs and not take the Adderall to help you study for that big exam. You can do it just by yourself.
Is that hard? Is that a lot of pressure on you?
It is. You said I have a few months left, and I feel it. It's been a long time working to be, really as best as I can be, and it's tough, but it's definitely worth it.
How about going forward from here? You were saying that you're possibly going to go to University of Alabama.
Yes.
Huge student body, 32,000 students.
Right.
You're easily watched here in such a small setting, but when you get to a big campus like that,
Right.
A lot more is introduced, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that you still have to stand up and be an advocate, or do you sort of just take a step back and hope that the university programs really push it?
Well, I think that I will be able to stand up and, again, continue to lead by example. Because there is such a larger population, I won't be in the spotlight as much, but I think I can get out there and make myself known and continue to be a part of this drug task force and really work to show that it's a big deal, and a lot of people who are at Alabama got there because they worked hard, and so I know that they can continue to make good decisions. And sometimes within a big university, people have a hard time trying to find where they fit in, and so maybe if I could create a group or something to that extent where people feel safe to be there and they don't have to party or take the Adderall or the Ambien to have a good time.
My last question for you. What advice would you give to other young people that are afraid to be outspoken like you are?
It's just so worth it. If we can make a difference within our state and get to the point where we don't have to watch our classmates forfeit their futures because of that drug abuse, you know, I encourage people to stand up and say, hey, you know, this isn't right. Let's do something to change it. Let's really declare war on those drugs.